All right, so let's begin with our very first subtopic for our webinar tonight, titled Data Analytics 101 with Excel. So first, let's talk about introduction to data analytics and its business relevance. Right, so here I have two stories to tell. So the first one is all about this plane, and the other one is all about this toothpaste factory. Okay, so before we talk about data analytics, and of course, so that you will appreciate the power of data, or why do we what's the big deal, or what's the fuss about data? So first, let's talk about the story of a bullet riddled plane. So I will not tell the whole story. It's just a summary, or a synthesis of the story. So, or synopsis, rather. Okay, so uh, this story was about World War II planes. And at some point, there are analysts who study the returning planes and found out that most of the planes are hit at these spots, mostly on the right and left wings, on the middle part, or in the tail. And they thought, the analysts thought, oh, we need to reinforce these parts so we can have better chances of winning the war. Okay, so that the planes can survive more. Um, and of course, we can win eventually. Okay, but long story short, the problem actually is not about these things, these parts that are being hit by the bullets, because the fact that the planes were able to return to the base, even being hit at these parts, only means that the planes can survive, or these parts are not that crucial, or that not that vulnerable to bullets, or to whatever heat they get during the World War II, or during the war. So um, what the analysts failed to see is the fact that the the parts that are not hit on the plane, the parts of the plane that are, as shown here, not being hit by these bullets, are actually the more vulnerable parts. Why? Because those who have the planes that were not able to return are most likely hit on these parts, on any of these parts, maybe in the front part, or in the middle part of the tail. Okay, so the lesson learned is, let's not just jump into conclusion. So there are some, we don't just rely on the available data. Maybe there's something in the unavailable ones. Okay, so that's the first lesson, and that's only one way that shows, or one way to show the power of data and storytelling. Okay, and another story, we have the story of toothpaste factory. So there's a toothpaste factory that, for some reasons, um, um, failed to make sure that each toothpaste tube is filled with, of course, toothpaste before being packaged and shipped into the market, especially to their and and customers. So when this incident has been taking place more and more frequently, it has become a big problem to the company, and so the CIO has come up with the decision of doing whatever it takes to solve the problem. Of course, so he called all the experts, all the engineers, scientists, analysts in the company, and even called some consultants to come up with a plan, an immediate one. And long story short, fast forward, they came up with a highly sophisticated machine So it is able to capture any boxes that has empty tubes. So um, when it was implemented, it did well. No long there were no more complaints. The clients are satisfied. They got all of the toothpaste boxes are or none of the toothpaste boxes that they've got are empty. Okay, so in short, problem was solved. But out of curiosity, the CEO um, asked the analysts, well, how many of the tubes, how many empty tubes were captured along the process. So he got curious. So when he checked, he was surprised. He was surprisingly the analyst found nothing. So just when they had the machine already that could check the empty boxes, it's so weird enough that none of those boxes or that the machine was not able to catch any empty box. This, but okay, the problem was solved, but why? Why now? Why are there no more empty boxes? So since the CEO really want to know why, he went to the actual field where the machines are and observe what's happening actually. So there's one spot there right before the packaging area where he found a strangely positioned electric fan, and he thought that it was just a misplaced fan. So he asked the technician, why did he put that electric fan? Why not there? Why not keep it somewhere? So the technician replied and said, uh, when he found out that as the person being in charge to guard the machine, when he found out that he will be the one who will pick up any empty box that has been detected by the machine, he he found a way to make his job simpler. He didn't want to stop whatever he's doing and go to the machine and pick up the empty box or empty tube. So that's what he thought. He used an electric fan to immediately drive away or sweep away any empty box that is placed or that is going through the conveyor. So in short, that electric fan is actually the answer already to that problem. The factory did not need that sophisticated machine. They just need that electric fan. Okay, so multi-million machine versus a few dollar fan. Okay, so moral lesson, maybe next time, let's not overlook the simple things, simple data around us. So maybe we can conduct something like we collect some user stories. In the case of IT people, um, they there's a process called requirements engineering, wherein they collect data from the end users or the target beneficiaries of the system that is going to be built. So that simple data, that simple statement or story from an ordinary worker, a technician, could be powerful enough to solve a certain problem. Okay, so that's another story that shows how powerful data is. If we only take a look at it or take time to analyze and not just jump into conclusions. Okay, so with that, with these two stories, by the way, some of the questions in the quiz have something to do with these stories. So I hope you were listening. Okay, because from time to time I'm going to mention these stories, or I'm going to relate our discussion to one of these two stories. Okay, so I hope you've learned something. Okay, so power of data. So those are just two examples of how powerful data is. how powerful data could be, because data could provide insights into patterns, trends, and relationships. Also, data could inform decision making and improve outcomes, just like in our story or in our two stories. Also, it could drive innovation and create new opportunities. And lastly, optimize processes and increase efficiency. All right. So with that, let's talk about what data do we actually um, um, usually get into when it comes to data analytics, right? Before we finally define what data analytics is. So I have to mention this, um, what do you call this? These uh, main categories of data. Okay, so there are so many ways to classify data, and one of which is whether data is categorical or numerical. And specifically, numerical data can be divided or can be further classified as either discrete or continuous. Discrete are basically those that with fixed interval, while continuous have no fixed interval. So it could be, for example, from 1.1, it could be 1.129, it could be 1.75, and so on. It could be any number, any decimal point, anything. Okay, while or in other words, between 1 and 2 we can have infinite possible number in between, while in discrete it's only either 1 or 2, or maybe 1, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, and 2. So it depends on the interval, but when it comes to discrete, that interval is fixed. Okay, so now, here in our picture, we have levels of measurement of data. So the simplest one, or the lowest level one, is under, or two of the lowest levels are under the categorical values or variables. Okay, and we could further divide them as nominal and ordinal. So nominal are basically names or textual data. So example, we have um, occupation. So for example, occupation could be teacher, engineer, farmer, worker, technician. Okay, so textual. It could be political preference, favorite animal, place of residence, or even as simple as your name, address, um, name of school. And, okay, so nominal data. So there's no ranking, there's no numerical equivalent unless we, uh, in programming, you assign a certain numbering to them. Okay, but if we rank things in order, like for example, we have different schools and we rank them according to the best up to the worst, or the best performing school up to the least performing school, then we already have ordinal data. So if we assign the school, for example, one is the highest, one is the best performing school, and maybe five is the least performing school among the five schools, then actually we are already converting that nominal data into ordinal data. Okay. Another thing is when we are asked to rank something or to judge something. So whether we are satisfied or unsatisfied or anywhere in between. So let's say we have satisfied, highly satisfied as the highest, and highly unsatisfied as the lowest. So in between, we can have satisfied, slightly satisfied, and unsatisfied. Okay, so if that's the case, that's already ordinal data. And actually, our Likert scale items, like what we have in our surveys, in our survey questionnaires, are actually ordinal data. They are not considered numerical data. Okay? So when we rank something like first, second, third, or 1 out of 10, 8, 2 out of 10, and so on, They are actually ordinal data only, okay, and still considered as categorical variables. Okay, so now going to the other part, continuous variables. Under continuous variables, our continuous data can be either interval or ratio. So they are just both of them are numbers, but the only difference why ratio is higher than interval is because ratio numbers can accommodate absolute zero. Okay, so what is absolute zero? For example, in interval, when we say 0 degrees Celsius, it doesn't mean there's no temperature. Okay, there's still a certain temperature measured at 0 degree, or we label it as 0 degrees. While in ratio, when we say 0 kilograms, that means weightless. There's no weight. Or 0 meters, you've walked 0 meters, therefore you didn't walk at all. You didn't change position. Okay, so I hope you got it, because when we do statistical analysis eventually, or any data analytics processes, probably one of the things that we have to check first is whether the data we are handling is categorical or numerical, and whether it is discrete or continuous. Okay, so with that, we have Excel as our tool, especially for beginners. Okay, so why Excel? Because almost all laptops have Microsoft Excel already built in, or installed by default. And it's very easy to have it installed. And it's very easy to find one where you can perform even just basic data analytics operations. Okay, unlike in other tools that there are some things that you have to install, and there's a higher learning curve with them. But uh, Excel is something that most professionals already use. So it's I believe it will be very helpful if we add a little bit of data analytics operations in what we do. Okay, why? So we can optimize what we do, optimize our performance, become more efficient, achieve better results, and so on. Okay, so as you can see, Excel, I'm not going to discuss the Excel environment, but um, um, here's something that I want to highlight. This thing is an example of a formula, and this is something very important in data analytics. Okay, and actually in other operations with Excel. Okay, so basically, we have data here. We encode them in our cells. Okay, and then in any cell, we can actually have a formula. We can actually write a formula. Either we type it directly on the cell or use the formula bar to type this formula. Okay, so example here is when you want to take the sum of items from B1 up to B4. Okay, so our references in this case is B1, or our cells B1 to B4. And we use the function sum, of course, to take their sum. And then there are additional operators. There could be additional operators like this one. Asterisk means multiplication. And then we can have some constants like a percentage in outside, or maybe even inside. So I'll zoom in for this example. Okay, so kindly pay attention to this example, because one of the questions in our quiz will be coming from this part, this specific image. All right, so here we have a data set of students belonging to different sections. Okay, or data set of different sections and their corresponding number of students. Okay, now out of the data set, we want to create another table like this. So based on the upper limit that we have selected, like for example, the first range is 0 to 12 students. Next is 13 to 16, 17 to 20, 21 to 24, and 25 to 29. We want to count how many of these sections belong to each range. So in that case, there's a simple formula called frequency. And as you can see, we have C4 to C15, okay, 4 to 15, and then F5 to F9. So here. So now, using that formula based on this data set and these upper limits, we can now create or we can now automatically derive the number of sections having or belonging to each of these ranges. Okay, so kindly observe. Okay, and that's one of the most important um, data analytics skills that you will encounter. Okay, so this is just an overview of how to use Excel. And of course, it shows why Excel is a powerful tool and can, as simple as it is, can already be used for very useful tasks like data analytics. Okay, so moving on. Aside from that, or I tried to organize the different things that we can do in Excel. So among the most essential data processing functions in Excel, I categorized them as first, governance and management. So this is something that our webinar does not really talk about or does not really cover. Okay, so we are now our discussion focuses on data that's already inside our Excel, inside our file. Okay, so it's something to do with gathering data and coding, storing them in somewhere in our device or in as a cloud, um, or accessing them. How do we access them, or how do we make sure? How do we choose which who to access, when to access, where can we access? So things like that has something to do with governance and management. Okay, so that's more advanced, especially when we are talking about security of data or data security. Okay, so what we are more focused on here is the second one, organization and preparation. So before we can perform analytics, actually, we have to make sure that our data sets are well formatted. So we do some proper sorting and filtering. And then, of course, we have to perform preparation things like cleaning, data cleaning, and data pre-processing. Data cleaning means we are getting rid of any data points with incomplete data or incomplete details, or maybe wrong information or invalid information. So we get rid of those. We cleanse our data set. Okay, or maybe there are some that have ununiform ununiform formats, or maybe there are some that are not uh, that need to be converted. Okay, so that's under pre-processing. So before we do the actual data analytics, so there are some initial processing that we do with our initial data, and you're going to see them especially in our video later. Okay, also in this webinar we're going to talk a little bit of statistics. So I have to make it clear that this webinar is not about statistics. We're just going to mention a few things about statistics, but that's not our main focus. This is quite an introduction to everything. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to show a little bit about hypothesis testing later, and on the last part, we're going to talk about a little bit about an overview on regression analysis. Okay. And of course, we're going to have a little bit of, or a little glimpse on data visualization and storytelling. So we're going to mention some charts, diagrams, pivot tables, and dashboards. Okay, so now let's define data analytics, right? So first, it is said here that it is the process of using tools and techniques to inspect raw data to uncover trends and answer questions and make informed decisions. So remember, raw data means uh, unprocessed. Once we process our data, it becomes information, right? So why do we process data? So that we can have information. So that information can uncover trends, answer questions, and make informed decisions. Also, it is said here that data analytics involves data analysis to identify patterns, solve problems, and predict future outcomes. Okay, so we're going to talk about that more in a while. First, let's take a look at this one. So data analytics can be classified into four. The and they are arranged in terms of complexity and value. So the most valuable one is the prescriptive analytics, but that is also the most complex one. So for beginners, although this is a little bit less valuable since it is something very easy to do, many people can do it, and even high school students can do it. So um, that's why it's quite less valuable among or it's the least valuable among the four types of data analytics. Okay, so descriptive analytics, actually, we basically answer what happened or what has happened. Okay, and as you can see, it is one way of processing data in the past. Okay, so we are just answering what happened. But if your question is why it happened, then it is now called diagnostic analytics. Okay, so diagnostic analytics, um, uh, as you can see, it is more advanced, more complex compared to the descriptive one, but at least the value has leveled up a little bit. Okay, and if we level it up more, we reach to the uh, part where we use future data instead of past data. So predictive data, we make predictions because we want to answer what will happen. Okay, so basically we make forecasts, we make predictions. So in engineering and in this industrial applications, we make of things like predictive maintenance. Okay, so that before anything goes wrong, at least we have done our part to make sure uh, the chances are very small. Okay, so but as you can see, the highest part is prescriptive analytics because this is the part where we try to answer, okay, so if that's the future, how will we make it happen? Or if that's something bad, if something bad that is about to happen in the future, how do we make it not to happen? Like, how do we stop it? Okay, so there are some prescriptions that we need. So we are being advised through data. Okay, so actually doctors can make use of it, consultants can make use of it, even attorneys, lawyers can make use of it, so that um, they have some basis on very complex decision making that they are about to do. Okay, so data, they have to be data driven and not just rely on their biases or their instincts. Okay, so with all in any of these types of data analytics, actually the central core is found in our second definition, the concept of data analysis. Okay, so whatever the purpose, whatever the methods or the technologies and tools that we use for these activities, the fact remains that they all have this or they all contain these stages: ask, prepare, process, analyze, share, and act. Okay, so in any of these four types of data analytics, we ask questions and define the problem. We prepare data by collecting collecting and storing the information. We process data by cleaning and checking the information. And then after that, we analyze data to find patterns, relationships, and trends. Once we have the results, we share the data with our audience. And of course, we have to act on the data and use the analysis results. Okay, in short, these processes are called data analysis. Okay, again, our goal for that is to identify patterns, solve problems, and maybe predict future outcomes. Okay, so that's our first part. I hope you have learned something. So now we have come to our first quiz out of 4. So kindly scan the QR code. We have a total of 4. We have 3 questions for each quiz. So that means we have a total of 12 questions. So you only need a total to score a total of 8 or more to qualify for our e-certificate. Okay, and if you have any questions, kindly comment them or write them in the comment section and we'll be glad to answer it. Or if you are too shy, you want to keep it privately, you can actually in our evaluation form, there's a field where you can write your question. And we'll try our best to answer them right away. Okay, so that's it. While you are answering it, you can watch these videos.